Guys, Cookie just opened this hive up. It's in the morning. It's got propolis there. What we're mainly doing today is adding boxes to some of our hives. These were splits. They've been needing boxes for a little while. Got the frames put together, so we'll get them added, give them plenty of room to finish out the season.
During that. Yeah.
Alright, so what she's doing is adding boxes. See the ones with single chambers? They were splits. They have built up really, really well. And we've added most of our second chambers or thirds. We're just adding boxes today. Hot as it's been, it'll give the queen more room to reproduce, have more bees, more resources, and also a few of these colonies, the single chamber colonies, were bearding really bad because it's been getting so hot. And that's normal. But what that does is the bearding allows them to, it's a process that allows them to control the temperature within the colony. They're fanning a lot of times the entrance to get air to flow. A large part of their job is climate control in their hive. So a lot of their work involved is keeping the temperature stable in the colony. So we'll get these boxes added. And I was hoping, I knew it would be early and probably would not have any bearding at this point, but I was hoping to show you some of the bearding and show you the before and afters after we added a box to give them more room for more ventilation, how that will reduce the bearding. If you get a big, strong, full-size colony in their bearding, you can open your top entrances, give them a little more ventilation, but for the most part, it's fairly normal and nothing to be too concerned about. A lot of new beekeepers will get excited about my hive's bearding, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. Certain times of the year it can indicate some different things, but for the most part, no big deal. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do here, this is a smaller colony. It was a late split or maybe a swarm, I can't recall. But anyway, so where they got their brood chambers, predominantly from here on the far right to about the 7th frame. So what I'm going to do right now, you can manipulate your colonies where the brood chamber is, and that's an important thing to do different times of the year for different reasons. We're not going to get into all that, but I just figured I'd show you this. So predominantly your brood chamber is in the center of the hive in most cases, not all. So I'm going to slide them more to the left to get the brood chamber centered, and then I think it can make it a little more efficient at times, manipulating the brood chamber where the predominant brood chamber is. All right, gang, we got to add a box to this hive, but it's plumb full of honey, so I'm going to give them a little room so they don't think about doing anything crazy. So I'm going to pull a couple frames of honey out of this to give them some room, to give them some more work to do, obviously. Well, add a box, that'll give them extra work, but when you pull and remove a frame or two here at a time out of a brood chamber, there's nothing more they want to do than to get that thing filled. So you can manipulate them and make them do work, where if you added just a super, they might not do anything in the super, but if you take a frame of honey out of the brood chamber, it'll encourage them to work. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to get her, so I don't want to put an empty frame against the wall. For whatever reason, they don't want to draw those out and fill them as quick. So we're going to put a full frame against there. So Cookie's going to separate and slide a frame over to the very edge. You're manipulating, you're taking advantage of the space and making the bees work. And now we'll put our empty in. If you put two empties together in a brood chamber like that, they can make a mess too. So we like to have a full one like the one on the end there. Next one's just foundation. Then we'll throw a full one against that, because if you got two empties side by side, like here, like there's an empty here on this frame and an empty here, they might draw this frame out in this frame space. So if you put a full one against it, it'll make them keep their bee space right. Just little things to remember and to think of when you're working your bees. Not right, not wrong, just kind of what we're finding out works for us. Now let me make a little bit of clarification what I was talking about earlier about having two empty frames side by side. So if you got your primary brood chamber, see, like over here we pushed a honey frame over. There's no brood on this. That's honey. This is a new one. This is honey. If this had brood, this time of the year you could probably get away with it, but most times you don't want to separate your brood chamber. So if this had brood on it and this had brood, I might not want to put that empty in there, because if they needed honey from this frame to take care of these bees, if this frame here had nothing but brood on it, no resources, as screwy as those bees are, they might not want to go two frames over to get honey for them. So you want to keep a resource frame right next to them, if that makes sense. So what we've done over here, in order to manipulate the space, these are honey frames. So you got a honey and empty, a honey and empty, and then brood. So this was a banging two 8-frame medium hive bodies. It was totally full, so we needed to add a box, so that's it there. It was so full that I went ahead and pulled a couple honey out from them to give them some room to work, and added a box. So when you add your boxes, you want to, if you tighten all your frames up to where the end bars are touching, see, all this stuff is made and engineered to where it keeps your bee space correct. So if I put all these frames in there like this, or Joe Blow, your local beekeeping flunky, carries your box to you and hands it to you, and where they've been bringing it across the field, you're all kind of wampus like that. You don't want to put that in your hive like that, or they're going to make a mess. So you want them all tight and then even on either side. If I left this like this, they're going to make a daggone mess right here. In that space there, you'll have a mess. So nice and tight, even center to center. And that right there, folks, will save you a lot of beekeeping headaches. Just keeping your stuff spaced correctly. Hey gang, here's a little test here. So the sourwood's flowing and there's some good wildflower flow going. This box has been out and it's got a good bit of honey in the bottom of it. So it's been out for a few hours and the bees, they're not touching it. Now, you could be a couple miles away and have it be in a major dearth, which we're getting ready to go into dearth times. But this here indicates to me that there's still something out there for them to bring in, which I know there's sourwood, because there's 4 sourwood trees right across the way in bloom, fully bloomed. Or just starting to bloom, so they're doing real well. So there's something for them. If there wasn't, this will be covered in bees. When you're feeding, if you watch when you're feeding, if they're not taking your sugar water, if they're not taking it, you're offering it and it's been there a while, usually takes them a while to find it, but if they're not taking it, they're getting it elsewhere. And they will get a premium nectar source before they get sugars and any sort of artificial source you provide them.